Good morning. My name is Catherine Alberts. I'm here to talk about nothing changing. And it was recently brought to my attention that nothing changes can mean two separate things. Nothing changes and everything changes. Nothing changes if nothing changes. One is, I'll give you some examples. Nothing changes and everything changes. I have loved to work out since I was 15. That's 30 years of wanting, working out, not working out, still striving to go forward with that. But as we all know, you don't stay the same age forever. So right now I am striving for not getting back to my goal weight to where I was when I was 20, because we all know that's not possible. But, especially since I've had 2 children, but I am striving for a new, healthier me. So everything changes because I've had 2 children and I'm 30 years older. Second one, nothing changes if nothing changes. I would still be in the same place today if I didn't file for divorce. So I'm going to tell you a small, kind of small story, and see if you can relate or not to both those paradigms. As a small child, I never wanted to get married. Never. And my grandmother would ask me, but I thought you wanted children. Yeah, I do want children. But I don't want to get married. And as the years went by, I still didn't want to be married. And my ex asked, when we got together, my ex asked me 4 times early in our relationship. I said no every time. I didn't want to get married. So we kept going with our relationship. And the other thing that started in the beginning was drinking a beer here or there, smoking marijuana here and there. I know there's controversies on both. I'm not going to get into those. And I would partake in the beginning. We were both 21. We would do it once in a while. Only on a night out. Only on the weekends. As our relationship progressed, it became every weekend. And then it became both drinking and smoking, which back in the day, I could handle both. I don't smoke or drink now because it's not where my life is headed. So after every weekend, then every day, and me starting out being the gym rat that I wanted to be, at first it was fun to partake in something not within my guidelines or my structure, or maybe to escape where I was at in my life. Sorry. My dog says he has to go in. Also, when I was 20, I started going to college. And I have so much college experience. Not sarcastically. I'm not sure who can relate to this part of my story. But I have 3 2-year associate degrees. Because I kept on going back. I didn't know what I wanted to do or to be. I just know I needed something. And so with my gym experience and my college experience and growing up, I don't want to say poor and I don't want to say well off, because we weren't either. We were somewhere in the middle. I started getting this argument in my being, my mind, my heart. This turmoil feeling that I wasn't living and being the person that I thought I was going to be. When I was 20, I saw myself in this place when I was 50. And that, as I was smoking and drinking, not everything on a nightly basis, but usually getting drunk very often and usually smoking every night at times, this inner turmoil just kept on building and building. And I did know what to do, but I didn't know what to do because I was in this place of certainty. I knew what was going to happen. I knew that we would go to school or work. I knew we'd come home, get stoned, watch TV. And that was my certainty of life, even though I didn't want it. And I lost myself for a few years, even though I was still trying to go to the gym or work out at home. I was still going to school. At 23, I was still doing those things, but I decided to let some of it go. I decided to let the fitness part go. And I told myself that I would do it later. I'm not sure who can relate to doing it tomorrow, quote unquote, because it's not ever tomorrow. It's always way off in the future. And of course, I had not had 2 children by then. But I still wanted the certainty. I still wanted to be loved, even if it wasn't the right kind of love, even though there was accusations, non-trusting. It was just the 2 of us. When we started having children, I knew as the mother, I heard something, and I believed it more in my mind all the time, that the mother is the one that is the leader of the house, basically. They are the ones that show the children. And I'm not saying there's not good dads out there, because there are some fantastic leader dads out there. Don't get me wrong on that one. But I heard this quote and I took it to heart. And so I had my children experimenting, going to preschool, doing these things. That I thought were great. Of course, they were great. Hiking all the time, counting to 100 when they're in preschool. Some good things. When the partying started taking over my life, I realized that my ex and I, were fighting more and more. And I would try to change little aspects of my life. Like I wasn't going to the gym for a while, or I wasn't going to school. And then all of a sudden, that's something that I still want. It's something that I've still wanted for a long time. But because it didn't correlate with what our lives were at that moment, my ex was having a hard time with it. And I would still go, I would still get my 2-year associates. So the other thing is that my first 2-year associates was a business management degree. Well, now I have my first business, and it's a little different than what I expected and my business plan was in college, but still one of the things that I wanted early on. When we would get into these fights, I started avoiding the house. And I don't know if you've ever felt like you just can't stand to be there. You don't want to have dinner. You don't want to have a date. You don't want to have a shower. You just don't want to be at your house. There's too much turmoil. There's too much fighting. There's too much argument. You miss things about your house. You miss your children. You miss that comfy spot where you could come home and relax without a beer or smoking or anything outside to make you comfortable. It's supposed to be your house. You're supposed to be the one that says, this is my spot. I was no longer able to do that. So I started avoiding more. I would drink a bottle of wine in 5 minutes just to pass the time. And I would get stoned just to make him happy or make the situation happier. Because if you've ever smoked marijuana, there is a bonding experience that people, I don't know about now, it's changed, the mentality's changed a bit about it. But there's this association with smoking that kind of does like a bonding thing. It's not really the same as drinking a beer together. Not a big beer drinker, but I feel like it's different. Anyway, I started becoming the mother that I didn't want. I had absent parents. My grandmother was the one that was there for me all the time, taking me on trips, making sure I knew my English. I'm not sure good how it is now, but it is what it is. She's the one that pushed me to go to college. And was I doing it partially for her? Maybe. But I'm still happy where I'm at this moment in time. And I'm still going to college. I am going into my 3rd quarter of nursing school next week. So I started becoming the mother that I didn't want to be. An absent one. One that doesn't take her children anywhere. One that doesn't show their children anything. And from the first 1.5 years of my relationship with my ex, I knew that someday it would be gone. I knew that someday I wouldn't be there anymore. So I started taking the initiative. I started this thing that I love, and it was for their half birthday. Not about presents, not about birthdays, not really about a birthday, so to speak, but we would do it on their half birthday because that was a time that we could be like, oh, it's your half birthday. It's not like the 1st of July or like, it's just that both are half birthdays. It's not about presents. It's not about cake. It's not about party. It's only about me and them. And we've probably been doing this for 10 years now. And it's something that we would do together. Sometimes I would pick if they're too young. Sometimes they would pick. And we would just go off. We would just go hiking or paintballing or riding 4-wheelers or just spend the day together. It doesn't matter what we were doing. We'd always get ice cream. That was their favorite part, one of their favorite parts. But we'd also talk about life. How's your day going? And of course, the first response when you ask children what their day is it's good. But during this time, because it was just me and them, we could sit and talk and say, is there a problem at school? Do you know about sex? And any of those things that you might find complicated to talk about any other time of the year. We still do it to this day. It's a little bit different now. My oldest son told me, Mom, you realize sometimes this is going to stop. And I said, well, why? I started it so it wouldn't stop. This is our time together, even if it's just a couple hours of you and me bonding together. This is the one time a year that we have. So no, it's not going to stop. Anyway, I started that years before I got a divorce, probably 5 years before, 6 years before, because I knew that in the end, there wouldn't be an us anymore. And I know that not everybody's in my shoes. I know that most people get married to be married forever. When I did decide to get married, it was when I was pregnant the first time. And my pregnancy brain said we had to be married because we didn't want to have a quote unquote bastard child that my grandmother referred to. And I felt like that made it better. And this is where one of the nothing changes, everything changes comes in, because when you first are married and then you have 2 children, everything's going to change. But nothing changed because we were still smoking and drinking. I was still going to college off and on. I was still going to the gym off and on. But I wasn't becoming the person that I wanted to be. And I know when you have children, that changes a smidge. But it shouldn't make you lose hope of what you have, of you inside. That should make you grow and learn and include your children. My children now work out. They play in sports. They go to the gym with me sometimes because I've made it such a habit in their lives. And sometimes they go without me. Sometimes they do their own thing. And that's what children are supposed to do. And we still have those talks. I guess I'm bringing up my children part a lot this time because I just realized that after having a divorce, I may have a better relationship with my children than other people do when they get divorced. And I just want to clarify that I already knew that I was getting a divorce years before. And I started those small talks early on. And if you're not in that spot of being able to start those talks because you're already divorced, start them now, today. If you have one moment, literally 90 seconds, take your child aside and ask them how their day is, or ask them why they picked color that they are wearing. It can be anything, really. Sometimes we overcomplicate things. And when you ask them, make sure you are fully present. Fully present. Don't have your cell phone on or on you. Don't let it go off. Look at them in their eyes. If that's not your culture, then that's something different. But look at them. Fully engage with them. Be fully present. If there's no time for conversation, if you have to leave, if they're playing sports for a minute, if they're sitting down to eat and you already ate, sit down with them. Go throw the football with them, go for a car ride, sit outside with them for a minute. Ask them if they want to go for a hike or walk or the gym or whatever it is that you may have in common. It may be something super small, like talking. You both talk. I started to realize at the end of my divorce that nothing would change if nothing changed. And that means that I had to make that change. And I was avoiding things for so long that I didn't know how to do it. And I realized that nothing was changing, but everything was changing because I wanted to be the person that I wanted to be. I wanted to be that fit person that is doing 2 Spartans this weekend. That's me. I want to go to the gym. I want to eat healthy. I have been a pretty healthy eater my whole adult life. I'm in a spot where I know I can do hard things. So I realized we were still smoking and drinking all the time. And we went to his mother's house for 4th of July and our youngest son's birthday. Came home and I decided that I just need to do it. Just get it out there. Walked over when we went out to smoke. Walked over. I said, I want a divorce. What? Are you serious? Like, yeah, I am. Nothing is changing. And I want a bigger life. I want to live out loud. I want Spartans and something to spice up my life. I always have known it was back there. Nothing's changing. But my whole life had changed. It's always in the back of my mind what I need and what I want to take care of myself, to take care of my children. I've always wanted my children since I was 9 years old. But I never wanted to get married. So it was a process. The last 3 years I have lived by myself. Living without my children was one of the hardest things. But at that time, I had also failed nursing school for the 2nd time. My grandmother had died, and I moved out. So much grief. And in those moments of grief, you have to be still. No matter how much is going on around you. You have to make yourself be still. You have to turn off your cell phone. You have to turn off the television, turn off the radio. You have to silence your mind. And I know it's super hard. You have to sit down. No, you could stand, but I always sat down. I find it easier to quiet my mind. So I sit down. I don't just close my eyes because I'm making myself be still, but you can. Take a deep breath in through the nose, out through the pursed lips, which helps calm your nervous system. And your parasympathetic, your vagus nerve. And you ask that question, what do I need in this moment? And it could be that you are super lonely because you are without your children. You are in a place that you have never been before. You're without the person that you thought you could be certain with forever. But you sit there. If you only have 1 minute, you sit for 1 minute. But you repeat it. If you can repeat it later in the day, great. If you can't, that's not a big deal. Try again in a day, 2 days, a week. When you think about it, you sit down, you acknowledge, where am I? What do I need? Am I crying right now because I'm full of emotion and I'm without my children? I'm without that certain person? Cry. Cry as long as you need. Do you need to yell? You know, there's places now, rage rooms, where you can go and destroy anything that you want. If you have stuff like that in your house, well, that's more power. But and I never did that. It was always a sit down, acknowledge. Lots of crying on my side. Lots and lots of crying. Crying before work, crying before the gym, crying when I got up in the morning, crying when I saw my children. And they would always ask me, Mom, what's going on? I said, well, I'm going through a lot right now. Of course, I didn't tell them everything, but I would tell them, I'm going through a lot of grief right now. I'm going to be upset. And being honest with my children was one of the hardest, best things that I have done. I want that relationship with them. I want you to have your relationship with your children or the people around you that maybe you felt like you couldn't be honest with, but in the long run, that's the best thing. One more thing. I saw this quote from Teddy Roosevelt that said, the best thing you can do is make the right decision. The second best thing you can do is make the wrong decision. And the third thing you can do is make no decision. So whatever you do, decide and move forward. My name is Catherine Alberts. I am a health and life coach for divorced mothers, helping them love themselves unconditionally, heal from divorce, and live with and without your children. Because I know those are the three hardest things for me. And I've met some people that those are some of the hardest things. I was married for 20 years. I know what it's like to be without that person that you think you're going to be with or hope to be with. Nothing changed, but everything was changing. I want someone that will love me and grow with me and experience things. Is that how you feel? Or do you want that other person that wasn't maybe the right person for you? We all have our own lives to live. And if you are pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, sometimes the hardest decision is moving one foot in front of the other. I have a program called Finding Your Light that walks through each of those three pillars. And I want you to know, it's not an easy path. It's literally one foot in front of the other. And sometimes it's 1 minute in front of 1 minute. Now is now. Now is also now. So it takes that 1 minute to move yourself forward. Lots of books to be read if that's your thing. Lots of podcasts out there to do. But make sure that you're not isolating yourself, because isolation is the number one thing that kept me stagnant for a long time. Reaching out for help and becoming vulnerable was also hard for me. It's still hard for me. I don't like to do those things. But I know that it helps me grow. And I know that reaching out to people to resonate with someone else, to say, how are you dealing with this issue that I'm dealing with? Those are the best things. And sometimes we don't have time. Sometimes we fill up our lives with everything because we don't want to take that moment for ourselves. And I am telling you from my heart, take that moment for yourself. You deserve it. You are worth it.